Guys, hope everybody is doing great. I have got the opportunity to create a video for the students who's interested in molecular medicine or interested in studying in Sweden or any of the European countries or interested to do a PhD research by winning the prestigious fellowship like Marie Curie Fellowship, which is one of the most top-notch fellowship given to PhD scholars all across the world to do their PhD research in European countries. So if you guys are interested to know about all those things, you gotta check out this interview that I have taken with Ratish, who have got the fellowship from Marie Curie and who is a student who have also done a master's in Sweden. So I have divided this video into two parts. In first part, you're going to know the journey, what he did in all his internships, in all his networking time, to build up his overall profile and to know what inspires him and what kind of research he wants to do. So if you guys are interested to know all about those things, please stay in this video and check out all this. Hi guys, welcome to Talk with Nick again, and to the new episode. We have Ratish with us, who is doing a PhD in with a Marie Curie Fellowship, and is going to share about many things related to biological research and his experience in Europe so far. So Ratish, thank you so much for giving me your time. Welcome to Talk with Nick again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
How are you doing, Ratish?
Good. I'm doing good. And let me greet your viewers basically like Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Vanakkam, Bonjour, Guten Tag, Good Qual. So yeah.
Wow, you said so many ways, and you said hello in so many ways. Oh, I didn't get the last two ones.
So the Guten Tag is in German.
Okay.
Good Qual is good evening in Swedish. Bonjour is the greeting in French.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for introducing us to the new words and the new languages. So I know that you are doing a Marie Curie Fellowship, and the first question I want to ask you is, can you tell us the process of Marie Curie Fellowship? How does the Marie Curie Fellowship works for an international candidate?
Yes. So, I mean, it's not an easy process, okay? I mean, it is easy in a way that if you are very well prepared in many few ways, which would be like, I didn't know whether I would even get into a Marie Curie fellow, like I would be a Marie Curie fellow ever. So let me start by giving a brief about myself so that you will know how I landed up into being a Marie Curie fellow right now that I'm doing in a PhD within the ITN framework of Biomedaku project, which is a European Union project. So I am a bachelor's in biochemistry from India, from Mumbai, from Somaiya College, KJ Somaiya Science and Commerce. And I did my master's in biochemistry from Ruya, Ramnarayan Ruya College.
All right.
So these were the two, basically I'm a biochemist, I would say myself, that I started off as a research. And the task itself was very tedious because as the process of learning goes in the Indian way of doing in the Indian universities, which is very good, I must say. I come from those times, not very old, but from the 88 group batch of people.
Oh. Okay.
So you can say that the practicals were mostly, you know, doing the titrations in chemistry. And in biochemistry also you do the titrations as well, and you do some medical related, like, you know, looking at blood cells and identifying the eosinophils, the basophils and everything. So I started off with that. But then, you know, research is something that actually goes even more deep, wherein you need to know a lot of techniques. So I felt that I was lacking that experience throughout. But whatever opportunities I got along the way, wherein I had to be a part of being a volunteer in something, in terms of a project that was happening, like a professor was having a project from Hindustan Unilever at that time in Ramnarayan Ruya College, where I was doing my master's, and the HOD in my lab was like, why don't you join him and help the force of, you know, identifying a new skin soap that is very sensitive to people with some dermatological ailments. So it was basically a microbiological task that I was doing. So I started off with the basic microbiological skills. I didn't have any other lab skills. And then I said, okay, I have to I have to hone my skills by going into various labs. So I tried to push myself to go into internships. So I got into doing an internship in BRIT in Bombay, which is a sister concern of BARC, Baba Atomic Research Center. So BRIT means Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology. And again, based on my past experience of working with the microbiological work, so this was also into microbiology. And so we were actually using alpha ionizing radiation, basically, to treat the sewage water plant, water that comes into waste, to treat them and see whether this water is going to be free of enteric bacteria so that they can be used for other purposes like watering in the avenue plants, using for washing your cars. Last but not the least, for doing like utilizing this water for your swimming pool, basically.
Like secondary household works.
Secondary household works, in short. And this project was being funded by the Brits, and I was there for like just 2 months, I must say. The project I got a chance opportunity was just for 2 months. And I actually grabbed that. I went there, I did that. And then you come to know the inspiration behind this project that Brit had, because in various drought-prone countries, like in Israel, Iran, Iraq, they are utilizing these techniques so that they can utilize water with the minimum freshwater source that they have. So they are basically surrounded by the salinity water. So they are actually using this to treat the sewage and the saline water to make it using for secondary household works. So this project got an inspiration for BARC from there. And it was fantastic. I could meet many people. I could meet a couple of PhDs and postdocs who were there in BARC as so like, you have the scientist A or B grades, B, C, D, E, F, G. So it goes on this A, B, C, D level of scientific grade officers. And when I interacted with them during my breaks, I realized that, okay, you need to go to do a PhD, you need to do a postdoc and stuff like that. Then after that, I worked in thyrocare. So I said, okay, I have done somewhat microbiology and biochemical work. So let me translate this experience into real life samples. And I went into a diagnostic laboratory, which is one of the biggest in India, thyrocare. So in a day at that time, that was around 2011, after my master's, I immediately joined thyrocare as a executive. A quality control executive was my title. And I was also managing the customer response management as well. And I was also training people, the new joinees as well, as a part of my job responsibility.
These are a lot of responsibilities. Can I stop you? Can I stop you a little while, because you said many things, and I want to ask a question related to that.
Sure.
Like you did a lot of internships during your bachelor's and master's. I wanted to ask you, like, did you do internship every year?
No, that was not. See, I come from Mumbai University, and Mumbai University is one of the best universities, I would say, but I can be critical, but I would not use this platform to be critical as what I have got as an education from my teachers, because I'm here because of them and because of the university I have educated in. So there is going to be flaws in every system, okay? Yeah. So I didn't go about doing that, but I could see the drawbacks of not having internships in my curriculum. And I knew if I want to go into the path of research, like academic research of doing PhD, I need to get more skills in the lab. And this, I would say, was something where my family also played a role, in the sense, like, whenever we used to meet, we used to have a lot of friends from my father's side, from his side, or from my mother's or my aunt's side, who were somewhere connected to research and are doing really well abroad or within India. And they would introduce me to them, to interact with them during the social gatherings that we have in the family.
All right.
So it was because of that gave me an inspiration to know that, okay, I have these drawbacks in my curriculum. Like, we don't have an add-on coursework of doing a lab rotation, as you call in Europe or in America, or a technical coursework in your master's or bachelor's program where you will hone your skills of working in the lab.
Yeah.
So I had to either do it during my summer holidays, which I managed to do, but I was a bit too late, I must say. I have not been so very well planned. I have had my drawbacks on that.
Yeah, that's right. No problem. Everybody have a drawbacks. Everybody have a plus points. It's a journey, and we learn from our mistakes, and we learn both from inspirations and drawbacks. So once you completed your masters, how long it took you to get inspired to apply for the PhD program, and for how long did you work in different companies, and what kind of skill sets did you learn in those years?
I worked in thyrocare for a year. Okay, so to answer your question, it's not a direct answer. Like I can give you a direct answer, which will be only 2 sentences, but I don't think it's going to help.
Give me an indirect answer and give me a journey. I'm looking for a journey actually.
Yes,
so that the students get an idea how the journey goes.
Okay, perfect. So I will give you that. So I worked for approximately a year in thyrocare, and I must actually cite my professors from Somaya College as well. They were one of my inspirations throughout my journey as well. And then comes the CEO of thyrocare, Dr. Velumani, AVM as he's called. And he is the CEO of this company who started off with an aim that all the bachelor graduates or master's graduate in life sciences, biotech, or any discipline of natural science who seek an experience on a first-hand basis in comparison to IT graduates, BCA graduates, biotech engineers from private universities who get handsome drawn salaries from companies in comparison to a natural science graduate. As you know, the salary difference is
massive.
It's not marginal, it is huge in India. Yeah. So he was the inspiration who started this company. And when I joined here, there used to be so many different levels of inspiration talks from BARC scientists that he used to organize over the course of the year that I was there. And that gave me an inspiration of interaction on a first-hand basis. So I said, okay, if I need to do a PhD, I have to look for the next step after thyrocare. And I started planning way in advance. So I gave IELTS exam, which is English language testing system. At that time, my aim was to go to Australia. So I did that. I got around 7.5 to 8 as my cumulative score. Mm-hmm. And I went for a lot of education fairs, be it the DAD education fair from Germany, be it the Australian education fair that was happening in JW Marriott in Andheri, or be it any education fair. I would be there with my SOPs and everything ready, going there and meeting the university professionals or representatives who are interviewing you as a chance that, do I fit in the criteria of that? And I realized I had a drawback. My master's in the Mumbai University was a literature work, basically, not much of practical work. So I lacked my practical experience in my master's degree after I got it. Now I cannot go back and change it, right? So then I said, okay, I have 2 choices. I apply for PhD programs abroad by giving GRE. So I prepared for giving GRE. I gave 2 times. And in that preparation level, I also kept my final statements, SOPs, everything ready. And then I actually applied for several PhDs. I got rejections, and some of the professors or individual open positions and doctoral programs gave back a feedback to me for some of the schools and some of the professors to whom I had applied, saying that it would be much better if you would do like a research internship abroad. If you were in Europe, it would be easier. If I was applying for a lab and they rejected me, they'll be like, why don't you come down and work? It would be easier. Or if you were in Europe, we would have asked you to come for like a year of lab experience and then take you as a PhD. But since you are not in India, since you're not in Europe and you're far away, I don't think it's feasible.
Makes
This
sense.
was the ones for the open positions, and the doctoral schools, you have like 4 or 5 rounds. In the first round, I was out in almost all the cases.
Okay.
And this I'm talking about in 2012 while I was working in thyrocare during my last months of thyrocare. I started applying 6 months in advance. And then I said, okay, I had a tough choice. Either I do another master's in Europe internationally or in America, one more master's, and then apply for a PhD, because you need a lab experience. You need a real practical experience, without which it doesn't count. So I had to really drill a hole in my career planning, take a step back, and I took a risk of doing another master's. But right at that time, it was a risk, but now I would say it is a blessing. So I decided to go to a field of medical sciences, wherein I get the molecular aspect, I get the biochemical aspect, biotechnology aspect. I employ that, get my skill sets right, get the experiences that I require, and then let's see what happens to do a PhD or work in a company. And then that's how I landed up in Uppsala University in Sweden to do my master's in molecular medicine. And this was in 2013 of autumn.
Oh, that's a great experience. And like you said, you need to have all the skill sets. You need to have a story that you are meant for that particular PhD position. Like you said, Marie Curie is a competitive one. I believe that the Marie Curie might be competitive for the international candidates as compared to the European Union. I cannot say much about it. Maybe I will have to explore more experiences from different researchers and different students. So right now I'm talking with you, and I'm getting to know a different kind of an experience. So how did you find out your master's in Uppsala? Was it paid, and what is the overall process? If you can explain like in a general way, so that the students get an idea how things work.
I mean, like every student who will go internationally from India or from other countries from the non-European Union region, I was also one of those. I said, okay, I must look for scholarships. I applied for scholarships. So when you apply for an international master's in a specific university, you have a certain fee that you pay, and then you have to choose and list yourself with 4 or 5 master's programs. So, you pay once and you can apply for 4 to 5 master's program, like your preference list, number 1, I want to get into this master's program, second into this master's program, or something like that. And for me, the major choice was I would do a master's that I don't get in India, period. Because I have not judged any master's courses, but you know that when you have done already a master's, you already have an idea what you lack and what you don't. So I knew what I actually lacked, and that was to work with research groups as a rotation during my coursework, and also get animal lab experience to work with animals, with like in vivo lab experience. So you also work in vitro and you also get an in vivo lab experience. And I lacked that. So I was looking for a course that would actually give me. And one such course in which the curriculum was set was molecular medicine in Uppsala. So I gave that as my first choice. Second was biomedicine. I remember vaguely, which was my second. The third, I don't remember. So these were my 2 choices. I said, it's something, a bridge between molecular work and medical work. So let me bring that, because by biochemistry, you also have a knowledge into medical.
Yeah.
A little bit of a medical background. I said, okay, if I can try and get molecular experience, that means I would get to do PCRs. I would get to do some new techniques like genomic work, and then club that with some experimentation work in the lab and using in vivo or in vitro model systems. And that's how I landed up. And so I got admitted to my third preference, and I was eligible for a scholarship. But then I was like, if I'm getting the third one, I will not go to I will not waste my money to go because non-EU students have to pay tuition fees, irrespective of the scholarship. And Sweden at that time, it was in until 2011, they were actually providing free ships or free education for people or students coming from third world countries like India, Bangladesh, or Asian countries. But it was 2013, so they had already passed a law that says that non-EU students or citizens who come here to study have to pay the tuition fees. So I was in that bracket and I could not change. So I said, okay, I will have to pay the tuition fees, but then I wouldn't go for the third preference. Instead, I will wait for my first preference, which I was kept on a waiting list hold for 2 weeks. And I was like day in and day out praying. So I finally got it and I landed up in Sweden. I worked, I did my master's. And in my master's, I had research internships in 3 labs. And this was a part of the coursework. And then in my last year where you do your thesis, you either get one whole half semester where you could do your thesis, or you do a quarter semester of working in one lab and another quarter wherein you do your thesis. So I opted for something like a quarter and a quarter. And I actually got it into working with zebrafish as a model system into tendons and ligaments research area, which is very new. And that's how I got entry into working with an in vivo model system in my master's. And I also remember during my master's in Sweden, in my first year, a lot of my friends were going back to India because they were all really coming from wonderful universities from the south and from the north, wherein they already got experience of working in the labs. So they were already way ahead of me. And I knew I lacked that lab experience. And so they were all going back. And I was like feeling very dejected. I said, okay, let me go back. But then I said, why don't I look for a summer job in a lab, wherein I get something. And that's how I landed my first summer job, wherein I got a full salary with taxes that I had to pay in Sweden. So I filed my first tax also for the first time in Sweden, outside India. So that was my experience of having this lab experience there, wherein for the first time, I knew how to handle pipettes, do my genotyping, RNA extraction, DNA extraction, PCR, doing mini preps. So this was I was doing, and I was also transforming some bacterias also.
Oh, that's really
competent
great.
cells, as you call it. So this was my first-hand experience of working for 3 months during my summer. And you will not believe me, the salary that I got, I saved it, and that actually led me to not pay the tuition fees that my parents were sending. So I told them, you hold them that money for another 6 months because I have some savings with me from this summer job that can take care of my living and my tuition fees for the next 6 months.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So
just from the summer job, you could save enough for the next 6 months, yeah?
Yeah. Because in Sweden, the job is a job. It depends on what contract you have. So if they employ you on a full-term basis for 3 months, and they are required to pay you that amount of proper salary. And when they give you a salary, which means you need to pay the tax.
Yeah, okay.
And you do have a tax registration number in Sweden, right? So which means you are eligible to pay based on the tax money that you get.
Okay.
And there are like 2 ways. I know that. Like a couple of my friends also got a summer job wherein the tax was already deducted by the PI from the group leader, and they have given that salary, like a subsidized salary to them. So they don't have to pay the tax. But then you know that you don't get the sufficient money. So I will not say the money is not sufficient. I would rather say that the money is very helpful. Whatever money you get during your summer jobs are very helpful for a student coming from a third world country, be it from any country outside the European Union zone, that money actually helps that student to survive and live in that country for that summer, or be it the winter, or be it at any point of time.
Yeah, that's I completely agree. Well, that's a great journey. And now I am curious for how long you have been living in Europe now.
8.5 years.
Wow,